What's up, guys? Welcome to Daily Dose of Reddit. This is your host, Zach, and today's subreddit is r/IDontWorkHereLady. Alright, this story's called Lady Calls Me a Dirty Liar, Then Spits My Tea on Me. I don't work here, lady, by the way, so I wasn't expecting to post on this sub again. Like, ever. However, I had another I don't work here, lady experience. It's not as crazy as my last post, but I assure you, it's just as entertaining. My friends who were also in this experience helped me write this story. They also came up with the pseudonyms, so it was not my doing. So some backstory. I was an employee at a little yet popular cafe, which we'll call Cafe X, in my rapidly developing town. Unfortunately, I got laid off due to the pandemic. Understandable though, it was tiny. I get along well with customers, some which I know on a first-name basis. The incident occurred at another cafe, Cafe Y, where two of my friends work. One of them, Mitsu, is a barista, while the other, Sierin, was the manager. Cafe Y is way more popular than my cafe, so more people went there to get their coffee. I had a couple screw-ups while I was working that day and was really beating myself up. My manager, who was worried about me, told me to clock out early today and to relax.
We all have days like this. Just come back tomorrow with a smile.
Honestly, I was annoyed that she didn't trust me to control myself, but she probably did the right thing. Of course she did, man. Anyway, on to the story now. I was tired and stressed out after being sent home, so I decided to go to Cafe Y in order to grab something and head home. However, I had forgotten Sierin and Mitsu were working that day, which was a pleasant surprise. It was the slow period of the day, and the two were talking together. The moment I walked in, Mitsu joked about how rats in the store are a safety violation. She calls me a rat. It's a long story. I flipped her off, a show of affection, and asked Sierin for some tea, which she laughed and said sure. Kieran, maybe? Is it Kieran? Kieran? Okay, well, just for the record, I did play with pronunciation on that one, so if Sierin sounds weird, it's because it's a weird name. I'm sorry. Mitsu and I sat down and talked while Sierin boiled the water for my favorite blend, green tea with mint. A lady walks in and Mitsu gets up to take her order. As I'm waiting, I noticed that the sugar at the sugar cream section was low. Wanting to help out my friends, I take the sugar out from the cabinet below, refill it, walk back to my seat, and start playing games on my phone. My first mistake. Obviously, the lady saw me and started ranting. The conversation went a little something like this. Here's the cast. There's me, Toyakazu, that's a cool name.
Mitsu.
Sierin.
Entitled woman. Wow, how professional of your coworker there, taking out his phone in the middle of his shift. People like him don't deserve to work.
Mitsu looks around, confused.
Ma'am, I'm the only one here. Can I get you anything else?
Entitled woman gives her a look like she's completely stupid.
Are you making fun of me? I can clearly see your coworker not working.
She points at me. I haven't looked up, but I've been paying attention to the conversation. I speak up. Ma'am, I don't work here. My second mistake. Entitled woman turns to me and walks over to my table.
Shut your mouth, you filthy liar. I saw you restock the sugar, and you shouldn't lie to your customers like that.
Funny thing about me, when I'm tired and off the clock, I don't take crap from anyone. My general response is either sarcastic or condescendingly witty. Bad habit, I know. I look up at her, locking eyes. Lady, I want you to take a look at the logo on her shirt and tell me if it matches up with the logo on my shirt. She blinks for a minute, looking at my shirt. Then she snaps at me.
Don't you talk to me like that, you delinquent! You work here. Now I demand you to get behind the counter and help make my order.
I put my phone in my pocket, letting out a sigh. I don't work here. I'm not allowed to go behind the counter. I look at Mitsu, who nods in confirmation.
Ma'am, he doesn't work here.
She wheels around, pointing directly in Mitsu's face.
Don't you cover up for him, you little bimbo! I saw you talking just a second ago. You're just trying to bail your friend out.
Her first mistake. I immediately get up and walk up to her. Lady, I think you need to apologize to my friend. I'm very protective of my friends, especially people like Mitsu. She can't stand confrontation like this, and often would get anxiety from this kind of situation. Entitled woman wheels around to me, now shoving her finger in my face.
Is that a threat? Are you threatening a customer? This is unacceptable. I'll have your job.
At this point, Kieran, I'm gonna go with Kieran. At this point, Kieran comes out and places my tea on the counter. I don't know if he's been listening to the conversation or not. He just calls my order number. Immediately, the woman grabs the tea and takes a sip, assuming it's hers. Before I can tell her, she spits it all over me.
What is this? This is not my order.
She pointed at Mitsu.
You are incompetent. I want to speak to a manager about you and your butthole of a friend.
Then she throws it away, still screeching. Her second mistake. It's one thing to get mad over my mistakes. It's another to accuse me of your own. Before I can even get a word out, Kieran stops me. I'm the manager here. What seems to be the problem? Entitled woman gets a triumphant smirk on her face.
The rude employee here refused to take my order, and when I asked politely, he cussed me out and hit me. Then your other employee defended while also calling me a bimbo.
She lifted her sleeve, revealing a bruise on her upper arm. Obviously from a previous injury or something, because I had not touched her at all. Kieran looked at me with concern. Toyakazu, you did this? I can't believe you! My mouth dropped. Kieran, dude, you know I wouldn't. But he lifted his hand, stopping me. I need you to come with me. We need to discuss your status as an employee. Mitsu, don't leave either. Make her order, then come back too. He turns to look at entitled woman. I'm sorry, but after your order is made, could I ask you to wait so I can compensate you for your awful visit? Entitled woman has the smuggest look on her face.
Of course. I'm happy management here is at least competent.
Kieran leads me to the manager's office. He closes the door, then turns to me with a look of exasperation. All right, what happened? Immediately, I realized he was on my side and he was using his legendary theater skills to calm the lady down. I explain the situation and he gets super pissed. Not only has this lady berated a customer, but also his employee, which just so happens to be his girlfriend. He begins to walk out, but I stop him. Call the cops. He looks at me, a questioning look on his face. I tell him my plan and immediately walk out of the room with his approval. I walk back out and see Mitsu shaking, either out of anger or anxiety. I don't know. While the lady is berating her, I walk to her and whisper something. She nods and walks back to the office. The entitled woman eyes me with triumph, and I glare at her. I check the screen to confirm something. Yep, I've got my evidence. I sit and wait behind the counter. Entitled woman makes a couple remarks berating me and trying to antagonize me, but I ignore her. Eventually, the police arrive. Kieran walks out with Mitsu behind him. The entitled woman's eyes widen in excitement as she realizes that her complaint is getting me in even more trouble than she originally anticipated. Kieran walks over to the officers, asks them to come with him back to the manager room, and tells the rest of us to wait in the front. Mitsu and I sit on opposite sides of the store to the lady. I check with Mitsu. She's fine, just a bit angry now. Entitled woman can barely contain her excitement of seeing how she got 2 delinquents fired and 1 arrested. A while passes and the cops come out with Kieran. They ask for our sides of the offense. Entitled woman begins first, painting herself as the victim while accusing me of verbally harassing her and assault, even going so far as to claim I touched her inappropriately. The cops come and ask our side of the story. Of course, we tell it together because we're clearly on the same side. The cops think for a moment, then turn around. Ma'am, I'm placing you under arrest. She stands up, flabbergasted.
I'm sorry, what?
She points at me.
He's the one who attacked me! Look at this bruise!
She rolls up her sleeve again, exposing the bruise. The second officer, with an exasperated look on her face,
Ma'am, you do realize there are security cameras in this building, right?
Her face goes white as she realizes her mistake. Kieran, Mitsu, and I share a triumphant smile. We all knew about the cameras, of course. They clearly recorded her yelling at us, the lack of me hitting her, and her taking my drink as well as spitting on me. Kieran had shown them the footage when he called the cops back at my request. When she protested that she never assaulted me, I told her it's assault when you intentionally spit a drink on someone. She protested, saying she thought it was her coffee. Kieran then shows the officer that the lady never finished her order, as Mitsu never entered it. The cops arrested her and asked if I wanted to press charges. After the last time, a lot of people told me I should have pressed charges, so I did. She was charged with verbal harassment, assault, theft, and a couple of things like disturbing the peace, etc. She was escorted off the property, screeching at us. We're awaiting the hearing, but I won't be posting about it. She likely won't make a scene considering she seemed to recognize it was a losing battle. I texted my manager later. She asked me for a description of the lady. She then told me that she would make sure that she never sets foot in my workplace either, as that could end up messy for the restaurant. She asked me that next time, act a bit more professionally, as that does reflect on the restaurant. However, she did agree that I did the right thing and asked if I got my tea. I said yes, and she asked how was it. I said it was great. It's my personal favorite. Green tea with mint and a pinch of justice. Wow, that was quite the Karen in this story. What crawled up her butt? This story's called The Lady Who Burned My Face Over Change. First post and barely use Reddit, so forgive any errors, please. So I'm a 23-year-old man with Asperger's who works in a fun fair that travels around. For context, every ride is owned and maintained by a different person. No one entity owns all the rides like Disneyland. We are all just independent businesses built around entertaining the public. My story takes place when I was 20. I was in charge of maintaining and running what we call a funhouse, which is basically just an obstacle course for kids. I'm serving customers when this lady, in a blue tank top and ugly crimson ponytail, barges in the queue asking if I can swap her 10-pound note for coins for some other ride. This is a common request, but my parents own the funhouse and gave me instructions not to exchange notes for coins unless they are going inside the funhouse. I explained to Lady that I can't do that unless she and her family, there were 2 gross-looking kids with her, were going on the funhouse. Why not? She grunts at me like a bulldog. Because I'm not allowed to give change so customers can go on other rides. Yes, you do, Cooter! She screams at a volume that could deafen a brick as she storms off in a huff. I just get back to work, as I've learned to deal with such nice people by thinking about jokes, having a chuckle, and continuing. Hours later, I am on break as my mother lets me go for dinner. I stop by one of those roadside cafes we have on the fairground we were settled at, and I get my favorite: chicken strips, chips, and curry, topped off with a cup of piping hot chocolate. I distinctly remember being excited to have this artery-slaying meal plump with grease and frying oil made by my lovely auntie. I give my auntie some spare change I had, but then the tank top lady storms over to me. Why are you giving change to her? She bellows at me like a for real crazy person. Not remembering her, I just reply with, "Excuse me? You said you couldn't give me money and you spent it on this crap." And with that, she slaps my meal out of my hand and hits the hand holding my scalding hot chocolate up into my face. I cannot possibly find the words to explain the pain of having something that hot hitting me directly in my face. I screamed and cried for help as this lady continues to assault me by spitting on me and yelling more obscenities at me. My dad saw what happened and ran to us and punched that psycho in the face before calling an ambulance before me. Everything past my dad punching the lady is blurry. We eventually went to court for assaulting me. The burns fused one of my eyes shut and left nasty marks on the left half of my face. I had to get reconstructive surgery to even resemble the man I once was, but I still find it hard to look in a mirror. My dad got into trouble for punching the lady, but it wasn't as bad as what the lady got. Lady was to pay a lot of money to me, which I used to get a gaming PC and had to spend more than a few nights in prison. She actually tried to justify boiling my face with,
"He works for the circus, so he would have gotten paid his salary anyway."
"We don't have salaries. We take all the money we make in the day, divide it up based on fuel for the generators, rent for the land we stay on, and repairs. We keep what's left, which is rarely much. And for your information, we are not a circus. In case you are wondering, I am a lot happier now. I still have a face that could make a blind man cry, but I feel better knowing she got what she paid for. It just makes me cry sometimes, knowing that she did this all because she thought that she could treat funfair workers like crap." Wow. Dang, OP, I'm sorry you had to go through that. That's actually freaking nuts. Well, I hope everything's at least a little better by now, and, well, she got what was coming to her, which is something we can all be happy about. However, why did the dad get in trouble? She literally freaking permanently damaged his kid, and he's just defending his child. Like, what? Come on, man. Justice sucks. Alright, this story's called I'm Literally in Pajamas. I've had my fair share of confused for a worker encounters, but this one was particularly bewildering. I've been running DoorDash as means for extra income during the pandemic. Since I basically work for myself and my encounter with customers is very slim, most just request you leave their order on their doorstep, I tend to go out in comfy clothing, usually sweatpants or pajama pants. I had gone out wearing my pink fleece Hello Kitty pajama pants, sandals, and a Ghostbusters t-shirt. I pull up to this upscale Cheesecake Factory-esque type restaurant, red DoorDash bag in hand, and approach the hostess to pick up an order. As I'm speaking with her, 3 25 to 30-year-old guys come up behind me. They definitely were there long enough to see me speaking to the hostess, whom was wearing an all-black uniform with her hair tied back nicely. As I'm walking back outside to wait for the order, one of the guys comes up to me and tries to place an order? I looked at him as confused as I possibly could through my face covering. I go, "Oh, I don't work here. I'm sorry." And after that, he gave me an even more confused look and goes, "Oh, well, you guys had the same mask. I couldn't tell." I couldn't even tell if he was being facetious or not, because we both just had a black face mask on. Anyway, I got my food and was on my way. I don't know, man. Sometimes some people just have a couple screws loose and you can do nothing but just go along with it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode.